Ferrari turns up the pressure. Their latest aerodynamic upgrade has made them 0.3 seconds faster than McLaren. The fight for supremacy is heating up. Is this the turning point of the season? This is probably the first time you're hearing about this news, so I urge you to stay until the end before talking about it with your friends, because every detail matters. Subscribe just to stay tuned for the Formula One news no one else explains to you. The 2024 Formula One season is not just an evolution of motorsport. It's a full-blown redefinition of competition, engineering, and political brinkmanship. This is no longer a matter of lap times or podium celebrations. This is an all-out struggle for technological supremacy, legacy validation, and strategic survival in a grid where every millisecond carries the weight of a billion-dollar empire. What's happening behind the scenes is unlike anything the sport has witnessed in decades. Constructors aren't just competing for points. They're fighting to control the narrative of F1's future, rewriting their own fates through a mix of calculated aggression, data-driven innovation, and behind-closed-doors maneuvering that would put any geopolitical drama to shame. The atmosphere within the paddock has shifted. It's thicker, more volatile. Every debrief feels like a war council, every update package like a moonshot. Teams aren't tweaking, they're gambling. Risking entire campaigns on experimental components, on software that may or may not correlate with their simulators, on interpretations of gray areas in the technical regulations that could either bring breakthrough speed or catastrophic scrutiny. It's not just a race, it's a chessboard on fire, and every player is trying to checkmate the season before the summer break. Ferrari, once again, finds itself at a crossroads. But this time, it's not a matter of executing cleaner pit stops or managing tire degradation. It's an existential moment. After years of promise followed by inertia, they've finally unlocked something meaningful. Their revised floor design isn't just producing marginal gains. It's unlocking new behaviors in the car, new stability characteristics under braking, more predictable traction on corner exit, and a sense of momentum that hasn't existed in Maranello since their last serious title bid. But here's the catch. It all comes with a razor-thin operating window. And the moment they step outside of that, their performance disintegrates. Sources close to the engineering team suggest the current chassis was developed under assumptions that proved too optimistic. The car was built to run low, dangerously low, banking on aggressive underfloor suction to generate aerodynamic grip. But the moment they're forced to raise the ride height to avoid bottoming out or to preserve the integrity of the floor, the entire aerodynamic package collapses like a house of cards. Wind tunnel numbers no longer translate. CFD projections become meaningless. The car stops being competitive. And this isn't speculation. Internal estimates now indicate Ferrari is forfeiting up to 0.4 per lap simply by running higher than their ideal target. That's not a gap. That's a canyon. And in a sport where the average margin between P1 and P4 can be less than 0.2, it's the equivalent of racing with one hand tied behind your back. Subscribe just to stay tuned for the Formula One news no one else explains to you. Meanwhile, McLaren has detonated any preconceptions about their ceiling. This is no longer a team scratching for podiums. It's a symphony of aerodynamic precision and operational discipline. Their gains in lateral grip efficiency and tire thermal management are being described internally as quantum leaps. And while much of the attention has gone to their floor upgrades, the real magic lies in how well their car adapts from track to track. Street circuit? No problem. High-speed traditional layout? Bring it on. Variable wind conditions? Still stable. Their aerodynamic center of pressure remains consistent even as fuel loads change, a trait that gives them unmatched predictability in corner balance, especially over a long stint. And then there's the driver pairing. Norris has finally evolved into the undisputed leader of the team, delivering lap after lap with surgical precision and tactical maturity that now places him comfortably among the top 3 performers on the grid. Piastri, far from being a support act, is quietly dismantling any remaining doubts about his ceiling. His consistency, his racecraft, and his ability to adapt to changing tire conditions and fuel loads make him a strategic asset as well as a future title contender. There is no ego battle, no internal division, just relentless upward motion. All of this is happening as Red Bull faces its most precarious moment in years. And the threat isn't coming from lap time deltas, but from the regulatory gauntlet closing in around them. The whispers around their rear wing construction, once dismissed as paranoia from rival teams, are now the subject of official FIA interest. The governing body is preparing a series of revised load tests and deflection checks that, if enforced, could strip Red Bull of a hidden advantage that's been baked into their design since the first winter shakedown. Their speed on the straights has raised red flags, particularly at circuits with high-speed DRS zones where the car appears to undergo suspicious aerodynamic transformations under load. Christian Horner remains outwardly calm. But behind the scenes, the team has already begun drafting alternate wing structures, running simulations on less aggressive flex characteristics, and preparing legal arguments to counter any mid-season clampdowns. The stakes are enormous. If they're forced to abandon their current aero philosophy, the consequences could ripple through the entire package. Floor behavior changes. Downforce balance shifts. Tire wear accelerates. Suddenly, Red Bull goes from being untouchable to being hunted, not because they slowed down, but because the rulebook finally caught up. Subscribe just to stay tuned for the Formula One news no one else explains to you. While all of this unfolds, the ticking clock toward 2026 has become the drumbeat behind every major decision. Teams can no longer afford to focus solely on the now. They must split their resources, mentally, financially, logistically, between today's races and tomorrow's revolution. Mercedes, while appearing adrift in 2024, is already deeply entrenched in next-gen power unit development. Their silence is not resignation, it's focus. Sources from Brackley suggest their 2026 engine concept is already delivering promising results in dyno testing, and that their new fuel systems are outperforming projections in terms of thermal efficiency and hybrid deployment mapping. They're building something radically different. Not just competitive, but dominant, and they're doing it with almost monastic discipline, hiding their cards while the rest of the grid burns calories on the present. Other teams are not as composed. Aston Martin's internal structure is starting to fragment. Promises made in 2023 have not materialized, and key figures within the technical department are rumored to be exploring exits. Fernando Alonso, never one to hide dissatisfaction, is reportedly considering his future, not out of fatigue, but out of frustration. He does not want to waste his twilight years in a project losing direction. Meanwhile, Audi's highly anticipated entry is turning into a cautionary tale of what happens when ambition outpaces execution. Their integration with Sauber has been slower than expected. The hiring pipeline is jammed. Their power unit program is falling behind benchmarks set by rival manufacturers. And their presence in technical meetings is increasingly defensive, not because they're protecting secrets, but because they simply aren't ready. Nothing about this season is stable. Nothing is safe. Even the smallest advantage can spiral into a full-blown competitive edge. A software patch that saves 0.2 under braking might be the difference between Q3 and pole. A new suspension element that improves tire temperature consistency over 5 laps could trigger a race-winning strategy. The margins are that thin. The intensity is that high. Every weekend now feels like a miniature revolution. Not because of who finishes first, but because of how quickly the hierarchy is being rewritten, how ferociously the teams are fighting to redefine their limitations, and how willing they are to sacrifice short-term safety for long-term supremacy. This isn't racing as we knew it. This is evolution by combat. Adapt or disappear. Innovate or be left behind. And it's only April. Underneath the polished exterior of the 2024 Formula One season, something far more volatile is unfolding. McLaren, once viewed as a team on the fringes of contention, has surged into the spotlight, not by force, but by relentless precision. Their trajectory isn't fueled by hype, it's built on results. They are no longer knocking on the door of the front row, they've taken a seat at the table. And it's clear they're not leaving anytime soon. Lando Norris has reached a turning point in his career. He's not just quicker, he's smarter, tougher, and more strategic than ever. His radio chatter is calmer. His decisions under pressure are sharper. There's an edge to him now. He's found a gear that separates great drivers from those who simply have talent. He's done waiting. Every move on track feels like a message. I'm ready to win now. When he hunts down rivals, there's no hesitation. When he defends, there's no panic. He has become one of the most complete drivers on the grid, and the paddock knows it. But perhaps the most intriguing element of McLaren's rise is Oscar Piastri. The word rookie no longer fits. He is surgical in qualifying, putting together laps with precision and nerve that suggest a much more experienced hand. His consistency is growing, his confidence is solidifying, and he's already showing signs of leadership. There is no fear in him. He is not Norris's understudy, he's a rival in the making. McLaren has accidentally found itself in a situation other teams envy, two drivers who are both capable of being team leader. However, brilliance often comes with limitations, and McLaren's Achilles heel is becoming more apparent with each race. The MCL38 is excellent in tight, twisty sectors where mechanical grip and aero balance reign supreme. But open the throttle on a straight-line monster like Jeddah, and the car's weakness becomes painfully clear. It's heavy with drag. It lacks the top-end velocity to defend against lighter, sleeker packages from Ferrari or Mercedes. In qualifying, they can manage. In clean air, they can fly. But the moment they're vulnerable on a long straight with DRS engaged behind them, they're exposed, and the rivals know it. What's even more dangerous for McLaren is that Mercedes is no longer the confused giant of 2022 and 2023. The fog has lifted in Brackley. The W15 is the product of deep reflection and brutal honesty. After years of philosophical missteps, Mercedes finally understood that innovation without direction leads nowhere. What they've built in 2024 isn't a miracle. It's the result of disciplined engineering, driver feedback, and lessons painfully earned. This car doesn't just work, it behaves. George Russell has taken that platform and is turning it into something formidable. His Bahrain performance wasn't flashy. It was brutal endurance in a compromised machine. No DRS. No full power. A steering wheel behaving like it had a mind of its own. And still, Russell found a way to keep McLaren behind and put Mercedes on the podium. That's not just skill, it's mental clarity, racecraft, and elite-level composure. He is no longer a junior driver in a senior role. He's the team's heartbeat. There is growing confidence within Mercedes that Russell isn't just their present, he's the driver to lead the next title campaign. Behind closed doors, conversations are escalating. A fresh deal is being constructed around him. He's earned it. Not with politics or image, but with consistency under pressure and a growing reputation as a driver who thrives in chaos. But while Russell is consolidating his grip, Mercedes is looking ahead. The next chapter already has a name: Andrea Kimi Antonelli. And what's striking isn't just how fast he is, it's how prepared he looks. Every time he steps into the spotlight, it's with composure that defies his age. Mercedes has a plan. That plan includes a debut in 2025. They're not waiting for the future to arrive, they're building it methodically right now. And yet, all of this might pale in comparison to what could become the biggest story of the year: the unraveling of Red Bull's grip on the sport, and the very real possibility that Max Verstappen might walk away. What once felt impossible is now no longer dismissed. Verstappen, for years the undisputed king of Red Bull, now sits at the eye of a storm. The atmosphere inside the team has changed. The Horner investigation has disrupted leadership. The political brawling behind the scenes is spilling into public view. Helmut Marko's authority is fading. The power unit program is no longer bulletproof. And Verstappen is watching all of it, taking notes, weighing every move. The whispers are no longer faint. A performance clause in his contract is believed to give him the right to exit if he's not in the top 3 by mid-season. Red Bull brushed it off when asked. But those close to the situation aren't laughing anymore. The clause is real. The stakes are astronomical. This is not just a contractual quirk, it's a nuclear option. If Verstappen feels the team is no longer the best place to win, he can go. Not next year. Not at the end of a polite goodbye season. This summer. The implications are staggering. The power balance of Formula One would shift instantly. Verstappen available on the market would trigger a frenzy the sport hasn't seen in decades. Mercedes would make a move. Ferrari might reconsider their 2025 alignment. Aston Martin, backed by ambition and resources, would leap into contention. Everyone would want him. And Red Bull, a team built around Max, would face an existential crisis. This season is no longer about who's quickest over one lap or who nails the pit stop strategy. It's a full-scale battle for the future of the sport. The driver market, the team dynamics, the internal politics, all of it is accelerating toward a breaking point. Behind the visor smirks and post-race interviews, the real stories are written in silence, in contract negotiations, in technical briefings, in whispers exchanged behind hospitality tents. There are no guarantees anymore. No dominant narrative. Every team is on edge. Every driver feels the pressure. Every weekend could be the start of something massive, or the beginning of a downfall. What began as a championship has transformed into a power struggle. And whoever survives this season won't just win races. They'll reshape the next era of Formula One entirely. What if Formula One's most formidable figure, the man who has rewritten racing history over the past 5 years, truly walked away from the team that built an empire around him? That scenario, once dismissed as impossible, is now one of the most electrifying possibilities on the horizon. Max Verstappen, the unstoppable force of the modern era, might be preparing to ignite a chain reaction that would shake the foundations of the sport. Not because of a dip in form, he's still lethal on Saturdays and even more merciless on Sundays, but because sometimes, the battle off-track becomes louder than the one on it. Behind the polished Red Bull garage, a storm has been brewing. Internal divisions, leadership tensions, and fractures in the once unbreakable bond between drivers, engineers, and executives have left a scar that even victories can't conceal. With Christian Horner facing ongoing scrutiny, and high-ranking figures pulling in different directions, the energy inside Milton Keynes has shifted. For Verstappen, who thrives in precision and clarity, this slow unraveling of harmony might be the trigger for the boldest decision of his career. And if that decision comes, the next move won't be random. It'll be cold, calculated, and razor-sharp. Mercedes has emerged as the most realistic and high-stakes destination. The idea isn't just hypothetical anymore. It's been circulating in elite circles, whispered in hospitality suites, and passed between power brokers with growing intensity. Toto Wolff has reportedly been in advanced discussions with Jos Verstappen. Not PR meetings. Not handshakes and photo ops. Real talks. About the future. About legacy. About what happens when Formula One's most dominant force meets the only team capable of building a fortress around him again. Wolff is navigating uncharted waters. With Lewis Hamilton departing to Ferrari, he's been engineering a quiet transformation, George Russell as the mature spearhead, Kimi Antonelli as the long-term project. It's clean, efficient, and forward-looking. But Verstappen's potential availability changes the equation. Suddenly, Mercedes doesn't just see a gap to fill. They see an opportunity to rewrite history again, to return to the summit in one ruthless, decisive strike. But doing so would blow up the long game. Russell might feel undermined. Antonelli's debut could be postponed indefinitely. Development focus would shift overnight. The media scrutiny would triple. The political complexity would reach dangerous new levels. Yet that's what dynasties demand. High-risk, high-reward moves. Verstappen doesn't join a team. He transforms it. Mercedes would either become invincible again or implode under the weight of that ambition. And in the background, McLaren is quietly preparing its own pitch. The team from Woking has engineered one of the most impressive recoveries in recent memory. Once ridiculed for their inconsistency, they've become one of the most technically aggressive teams on the grid. Andrea Stella's leadership has created a culture of efficiency and raw competitiveness. Lando Norris has matured into a genuine race winner in waiting, and Oscar Piastri's adaptability has raised eyebrows across the paddock. Their car is evolving rapidly. Their strategy is sharp. Their ambition is real. But are they ready for Verstappen? Not just in terms of performance, but in infrastructure, vision, and leadership clarity? Max doesn't settle. He demands an operation tailored around him. He won't wait 3 seasons to build. He'll want to strike immediately. That's where McLaren still faces limitations. The talent is there, but the full package may still be under construction. Behind the scenes, another force is rising. Not a driver, not a team, but a power center. Saudi Arabia. What started as a well-funded Grand Prix on a blazing fast street circuit is now morphing into something far more potent. The kingdom's ambition in motorsport has grown exponentially. Aramco's presence in Aston Martin was just a preview. The real ambition? A full-scale Saudi Formula One team. A 12th entry. Entirely independent. Entirely state-backed. And entirely real. The plans, while not yet public, are being sketched behind closed doors. There's serious intent to build from scratch. New headquarters. Factory. Wind tunnel. A technical staff assembled with blank check authority. The goal isn't just to compete, it's to own. To control. To define the next era of Formula One on their terms. The FIA has shown quiet encouragement. Adding a team aligns with the expansionist vision of Formula One's global future. But existing teams aren't exactly rolling out the red carpet. A new entry means diluted prize pools, new political alliances, and potential interference in the traditional balance of power. Yet Saudi Arabia doesn't ask for permission. They show up, invest heavily, and turn influence into leverage. While the titans clash and political giants maneuver, Alpine has been surviving in the shadows. What was once a team with factory team aspirations devolved into chaos. Boardroom battles, staff resignations, missed targets. And at the center of this collapse was a rookie thrown into the flames, Jack Doohan. Many expected him to fail. Some within Alpine reportedly pushed for his replacement before the season hit midpoint. But in Bahrain, something shifted. He was calm, measured. His qualifying was respectable. His race pace was steady. He didn't light the timing sheets on fire, but he wasn't overwhelmed either. A better strategy call, and he would have been in the points. Suddenly, the whispers of doubt started to quiet. Alpine's management began to reconsider. What if Doohan just needed space to breathe? Now, the six-race ultimatum looks more flexible. The storyline isn't redemption yet, but it's no longer a collapse. That puts Pierre Gasly in an awkward spotlight. He was supposed to lead the team forward. Instead, his results have stalled. His margin over Doohan is slimmer than anyone expected. The internal power dynamics have shifted. Each qualifying session is now a silent war for relevance. Alpine might not be winning races, but they're fighting for survival, seat by seat. And then there's the grid itself. A battlefield of unexpected parity. Every team, all 10 constructors, has scored points. Not by luck, but by performance. Haas has turned strategy into consistency. Williams has weaponized Albon's talent into results. Even backmarkers are pulling off Q2 surprises and fighting in the top 10. This is no longer a sport of two classes. It's a knife fight from P1 to P20. But this rare equilibrium is temporary. Everyone in the paddock knows it. The 2026 regulation reset is already distorting priorities. Quietly, budgets are being reallocated. Simulator time is shifting. Technical directors are already drawing the blueprint for a new era. Some teams have begun sacrificing development for this year to focus on the long game. Others are burning through resources to stay competitive now, knowing they may pay the price later. The balance will collapse. Performance gaps will return. Some teams will fall behind permanently. The dream of uniform competitiveness will die under the weight of progress. But for now, this exact moment, the sport is living in a golden sliver of time, where anyone can surprise, where every mistake is punished, where no team can sleep easy. And that, more than anything, is what makes this era unforgettable. Right now, Formula One isn't just moving forward, it's teetering on the brink of transformation. Beneath the surface of every press release, every post-session interview, and every carefully polished media appearance, there's a storm brewing that threatens to reshape the sport as we know it. You can sense it in the tension behind team radio exchanges. You can feel it in the forced smiles between team principals. And if you've been paying attention, you already know, this isn't just about lap times anymore. This is about control, legacy, and survival in one of the most cutthroat environments in world sport. Ferrari is showing signs of something that could be mistaken for a renaissance. But the question isn't whether they can deliver speed. That's never been the issue. The question is whether they can deliver clarity, discipline, and nerve over a full campaign. Can they suppress the ghosts of past implosions? Can they remain tactically sharp under immense pressure, while their rivals circle like sharks waiting for one mistake? There's a different energy around them now, more focus, less fanfare. But no team is more fragile when the world expects greatness. And make no mistake, the world is watching. While Ferrari red burns brightly in the spotlight, Mercedes is moving through the shadows like a seasoned predator. The silence is deafening, and that silence should terrify every team on the grid. Their data-driven ethos, their surgical approach to development, and their refusal to engage in empty bravado tells you all you need to know. Something is coming. And when it arrives, it won't knock, it will kick the door down. George Russell is already performing at a level that many still refuse to acknowledge, while Lewis Hamilton, despite the shifting narrative around his legacy, remains a psychological juggernaut. Together, they are not rebuilding. They are reloading. Meanwhile, The empire Red Bull built may be showing hairline fractures beneath its polished exterior. Max Verstappen is still executing at a level that borders on robotic perfection, but perfection without trust is unsustainable. Internal tensions, political power struggles, and a toxic undercurrent have begun to leak through the cracks in their seemingly impenetrable armor. When a dynasty begins to eat itself from within, history tells us it doesn't end quietly, it ends dramatically. And Verstappen, more than anyone, knows that loyalty in F1 has an expiration date. If the machine around him becomes a liability instead of an asset, the unthinkable, his departure, might no longer be fantasy. It could be inevitability. And while all eyes stay locked on the Titans, someone else is climbing, quietly, steadily, without distraction. George Russell isn't just proving he belongs at Mercedes, he's proving he could lead it. His growth isn't theatrical. It's calculated. This is a driver who reads the battlefield like a tactician, adapts in real time, and plays the long game better than many twice his age. He doesn't crave headlines, he manufactures results. And when the car becomes a consistent contender, the shift won't be sudden, it'll be surgical. Hamilton will always be Hamilton. But Russell? Russell is coming. Across the grid, contracts are under scrutiny, alliances are shifting, and every move is being studied with forensic intensity. What appears calm is actually combustible. Drivers are playing dual games, pushing for performance while negotiating futures. Team principals are making moves that won't bear fruit until next year or the year after. This isn't a sport anymore. It's a political chessboard disguised as a race. And now, we head into Jeddah. A circuit that doesn't allow you to coast. Where confidence and courage are separated by millimeters. Where a single mistake ends your weekend, and a moment of brilliance can redefine a career. Jeddah is a truth serum. It exposes weakness. It strips away illusions. If your car isn't dialed in, you're on the back foot before FP1. If your strategy team hesitates, you're out of position before the first pit window. And if your driver lacks conviction, he's done before the final sector. This isn't about race pace anymore. This is psychological warfare. Team versus team. Driver versus teammate. Principal versus boardroom. Every lap is a statement. Every pit stop is a gamble. Every radio message is a code meant for more than just the driver. This is high-level, multi-layered, zero-margin racing. And it's accelerating faster than anyone expected. So here's the part where I turn it to you, the ones who see beyond the surface. The fans who analyze the telemetry. Who hear the political undertones in post-race interviews. Who understand that behind every helmet is a strategist, and behind every team is a web of ambition, ego, and ruthless pursuit. What do you believe is really going on with Ferrari? Can Mercedes pull off the most silent comeback in recent memory? Is Red Bull headed for an internal collapse that even Verstappen can't contain? And is George Russell right now evolving into the next great force in this sport, one perfectly timed to take the throne the moment it becomes available? Leave your thoughts, your theories, your bold predictions, because this isn't just another season. This is a war being fought on and off the track. If you crave the drama, the tension, the unpredictability, this is the year to lock in. Like this if you're living for the chaos. Subscribe if you want front-row access to the unraveling of dynasties and the rise of new legends. Because this story is far from over. And every single race from here on out might change everything. This isn't a championship. This is a reckoning. And we are all witnesses.